And the next method to calculate the volumes is the most important method and the most important slide in this section, which is a Biplane disk summation method, or another name which is called modified Simpson's rule. And this is the recommended 2D echo assessment for volumetric assessment, which means that if we have 3D echo, it would be better, but 3D echo probes are not available everywhere. So the recommended for 2D echo is the Biplane disk summation. Because instead of assuming ventricular geometry, it divides the ventricle into multiple small discs, and by calculating the volume of each disk and summing all together, we can obtain the final volume of the LV. And here is the concept of this Simpson rule. We divide the LV cavity into multiple disks like this of equal height. This can be done by the machine. When we assess the vertical dimension of the LV, the machine will automatically divide the LV into equal height disks. And by tracing the this inner line of the LV, or the tracing between the compact and spongy layer of the endocardium of the LV, as we will discuss later, we can get the outer end of the disc, each disc, and the machine can calculate finally the volume of each disc from this equation. And after calculating each disc volume, it will sum them up so that we get the final volume. And it's less geometric assumption compared to linear dimensions, because if we have dilatation in one segment of this, we will have larger disk area and larger disk volume. So we will get more accurate final volume assessment of the LV. And here we will see the appropriate steps to implement this Simpson Biplane method. And obtaining the accurate Simpson measurement involves three essential steps. First of all, we have to get the optimized view and the optimized depth. Then we have to define the systolic frame and the diastolic frame, which is the maximal contraction and the maximal relaxation. Then we have to identify the true border and trace them. So let's see those steps in detail. First of all, optimize your view. We have to avoid foreshortening, which is very, very, very important, because foreshortening will cause underestimation of the LV cavity size and volume. So we have to make sure that we are seeing the true apex in our view. And here I recommend you go back to first lecture of EchoNerds Wave 1, in which we discussed the appropriate echo views and what is the meaning of foreshortening and how to avoid it. Then we have to reduce the depth in order to focus on the LV cavity so that we minimize error in endocardial border tracing. Let's see an example of foreshortened view versus normal view. Those two clips of apical fourth chamber view are of the same patient. One of them is foreshortened and the other is the best optimized view. Here we can see that the LV is nearly equal to the size of the LA, the left ventricle equal to the size of the left atrium, and the LV seems to look like rounded or spherical in shape. So this view is foreshortened view. This view will underestimate the size of the LV. While by descending one space lower, moving my hand with the transducer downward one space, I get the best view. I get the true apex, and the LV here is more bullet shape, larger than the left atrium, so it's not foreshortened view. It's very important, because if you compare this foreshortened view to this lower space view, which is the optimized view, you can see that the volume here is much bigger, much taller than the volume of the left ventricle here. So take care, this is very, very, very important. And the most important step in Simpson biplane method is getting the optimized view, which is this view. So always remember, get down, move your hand downward, outward until you reach the true apex and get the tallest LV dimension, which means that you are getting the actual apex of the left ventricle. The second step in the optimization of the view is to reduce depth. If you see this first view, you can see that we are having too much space at the lower end of the left atrium, so that we are having a very high depth and the image is so small. So by decreasing the depth and moving the focus upwards, we get the lower end of the left ventricle at the lower end of the section of the ultrasound, so that we can trace the cavity more accurately compared to this view. So first step, avoid foreshortening and optimize the depth so that we get the largest image in our view. Take care that there is a difference between decreasing the depth and increasing the zoom, because decreasing the depth will keep the resolution at the highest level, while increasing the zoom of the image will decrease the resolution of the image. So we choose to reduce the depth, not to increase the zoom. The second step is choosing the correct cardiac frame, which is very important because end diastole is identified as the first frame uh, preceding mitral valve closure. So end diastole is the frame preceding mitral valve closure, which correspond to the largest volume of the LV. We have to choose the largest volume and trace the borders at it to get the end diastolic volume. While the end systolic volume is just the frame following the aortic valve closure, which correspond to the smallest volume. Those are the definitions of the European Society of Echocardiography and the ECV Association. So if you are getting the ECV exams, you have to memorize this, while if you are getting the board exams in American Society of Echocardiography guidelines, there is a slight change in the definition of end diastolic frame. The end diastolic frame is the frame after mitral valve closure, while here is the frame preceding mitral valve closure. For your clinical practice, the most important is not before or after the valve closure, but the largest dimension and the smallest dimension. So try to move the frames of your image until you get the largest, widest frame and the smallest frame and do the measures at them. The third step is tracing the border. And when tracing the endocardium, carefully follow the true blood tissue interface without cutting into any trabeculations or papillary muscle. Don't trace them, which means that they are part of the cavity. If you look here, we can see that there is a lot of trabeculation and papillary muscle here, and all of them is within the cavity. So we don't trace them. We don't do this like I am doing with the pointer. No, they are part of the cavity, so we have to cut through them. We cut through these trabeculations and papillary muscle to trace the true border or the true interface between the compact myocardium and the spongy myocardium or those trabeculations. How to do this trace? First of all, we connect the mitral valve insertion point on the annulus with straight line. We put our cursor here, then we click OK in our machine. Then we will move to the other point. Then we will move upward to trace the borders. In some machines, we don't connect the lines first, but we start tracing from the medial annulus, then move the cursor upward. It will trace the border with you until you reach the other end. And I will show you an example of this in the next slide, how to do it in your machine. And finally, you have to measure the longest dimension, vertical dimension of the LV. This LV length distance is between the middle of the line connecting the two points of the annulus and the most distant point. Take care. You have to take the most distant point and try to be vertical as much as you can, so that you get the most optimum discs that will trace the volumes of the LV. Again, before leaving this slide, don't include the papillary muscle and trabeculation inside the tracing because they are part of the cavity. And I will show you again an example of this. Here we can see the true endocardial border. This is the epicardial border. We don't trace the epicardial border, but we trace the endocardial border. And you can see that I didn't do the trace like this. No, I cut through the papillary muscle and the trabeculation. I cut through them because they are part of the cavity. We trace the interface between the compact myocardium, this muscle, and the spongy myocardium, which is this, which is called the true endocardial blood border. Another example here in this, those are two images of the same patient, of the same frame, same endodiastolic frame. But here we are doing the tracing at the blood tissue interface, cutting through the spongy layer, this trabeculation. We cut through them because they are part of the cavity, while here we trace around them. They are not part of the cavity. So which one is the most accurate? This green one or this red one? Notice that if you do the tracing like this, you will get a volume of 144, while if you do the tracing through the trabeculation and the papillary muscle, you get much larger volume of 188. Yes, absolutely. This is wrong because here we don't cut through the spongy layer. The spongy layer is part of the cavity. By tracing like this, we excluded them from the cavity. So take care, this is wrong, but this is the right tracing. This example reinforces the previous concept. Here we traced around this papillary muscle and trabeculation, while here we cut through them because we have to trace between the spongy and the compact myocardium. So all this papillary and trabeculations are part of the cavity. Here we got a volume of 158, and here we got a volume of 99 milliliters. So this is wrong because here we excluded the papillary muscle from the cavity, while this is right. Take care that those frames both are diastolic frames, but one is underestimated and one is true tracing. One important technical point is that the LV long axis length should be measured perpendicular to the mitral annular plane and extend to the true apex. Like this, we have to make the most perpendicular because in this example, we are not doing a perpendicular length. So all this triangle at the lower end of the LV is excluded from the cavity. Is a dead space that was not calculated. So to include this dead space, you have to make a vertical measurement. Try to get your view vertical, that the LV is vertical, so that the measure and the length should be vertical. And the last important tips in this Simpson method, the use of longer LV length between apical 2 and apical 4 chamber is recommended. um, Apical 4 chamber and apical 2 chamber length should be within 10% of each other. And if you find that the length in the apical 4 or the apical 2 is much larger or smaller than the other by more than 10%, this means that one of them is for shortened view, and you have to recalculate it again because you will underestimate the actual cavity and the actual volume. Steps to be repeated in apical four chamber view like this apical four chamber during diastole and here during systole, and we have to repeat the tracing again in the two chamber view, so that this method is called the biplane because we are tracing in the four chamber plane and the two chamber plane, and the machine will take the average measurements after you do those four measures. Notice that here in the apical four chamber during diastole, we cut through the trabeculations, and in the apical four chamber view during systole, we also cut through the papillary muscle here. So they are part of the cavity. We cut through these trabeculations. So take care of this tip. Finally, we have to recap the method. We have to avoid foreshortening, focus, and decrease the depth, not the zoom, decrease the depth of the LV so that it fills the screen. Place and set the cursor as a mitral valve annulus at the appropriate frame, whether it is the end systolic or end diastolic. Start the tracing at the compact spongy layer interface, which is a blood tissue interface, cut through the trabeculation and the papillary muscle until you reach the other end of the mitral valve annulus. Finally, connect both by straight line and measure the most vertical line between this annular plane and the farthest point at the LV apex. And this is actual case of Simpson method. We have to open a calculation menu on our machine and choose volume, then biplane. Then you stop the frame in end diastole, which is almost before or at QRS complex because the electrical activity precedes the mechanical activity. So the start of systole is the end diastole in muscle. Here we can see that it is the largest dimension of the cavity, and I will choose the left ventricular end diastolic volume. Start the trace from the medial annulus, cut through the trabeculations like this, and connect to the other end. And finally, when you click on this point, you will find that the machine automatically connected both ends of the annuli. And you, the next step then is to measure the vertical length between the annular plane and the true apex, which is here, cutting also through the trabeculations. Again, here, the cursor is stopped here. Then we will push OK. We see this line. Then we optimize this vertical plane so that we can calculate the volume.